You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Our guest today is Dr. Bruce Lipton. Dr. Lipton is an internationally recognized leader in bridging the gap between science and spirituality. He's a stem cell biologist, a best-selling author, and he's really a pioneer in biology and epigenetics. He's been a guest speaker on hundreds of TV and radio shows, as well as a keynote presenter for national and international conferences. He's the author of the bestseller, The Biology of Belief, Unleashing the Power of Consciousness, Matter, and Miracles, as well as The Honeymoon Effect, The Science of Creating Heaven on Earth, and co-author of Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future, and a Way to Get There from Here. Bruce teaches that belief is an energy field and that there are invisible forces influencing our lives, with 70% of them being negative and self-sabotaging. In this interview, he breaks down how 95% of our lives are dictated by our subconscious programming, and towards the end of the show, he helps us understand the ways to reprogram ourselves. We recorded this interview in his room at the Parmarth Nikatan Ashram, right next to the Ganga River during the International Yoga Festival in Rishikesh, India. You'll hear some background noise of the streets, so I hope you can appreciate that we're bringing India to you. Our conversation was super long and deep, so much so that I had to break it into two segments. In the first segment, we talk a lot about the state of the world, the fact that we're in the 6th mass extinction on the planet. We talk about climate change, human behavior, food choices, and then we start getting into the science of epigenetics. In the second segment, we get deeper into the biology of belief, how we're run by our subconscious, how yoga can be a solution, and how we can become the masters of our own lives. It's a really deep discussion about how we go wrong with our thoughts, and then we tap into the solutions to reprogram the subconscious. There's a great nugget at the end that I really want everyone to do as homework. This episode can be really life-changing for you, so I hope you listen to the whole thing and give it your full attention. Bruce is a real sweetheart and a brilliant man and biologist, and I'm really grateful that I got this time with him and that you all are going to get to benefit from this conversation that we had. It's really full of important information for you to take control of your own life and create the life that you truly desire. Enjoy, and namaste.
So when I say when you're operating from subconscious, the programs you're playing are not necessarily programs that your conscious mind would like at all. You're playing somebody else. You're playing your dad, your mom, your community, whatever. You're not playing yourself. So when you're in subconscious, the programs may not in any way address your wishes and your desires. You're going to manifest what they did. Mm-hmm. Okay. At age 7, the brain functions now at a higher level, alpha, which is calm consciousness. And again, around 12, 13, it kicks up to the higher level, beta, which is the more like active schoolroom consciousness. So a child below 12 doesn't have the same education classes as a child above 12. Mm-hmm. Because below 12, alpha is a different kind of consciousness than the focused consciousness of above 12. So you're seeing like education has to accommodate where the child's brain is. Mm. So I say, okay, we start our consciousness at around age 7. I say, well, how do you operate consciousness? I say, well, first, conscious is different than subconscious. Subconscious is habit. Whatever, you learned how to walk before 2. I don't care if you're 100 years old. That program that you got at 2 is still in there, thank God. Mm-hmm. And I say, yeah, so the subconscious is really great if you got good programs in it, walking and learning how to drive a car and all these things. These are good programs because they're useful. But if you learned that how, let's say bigotry, that's a program. Where'd you get that? You didn't come up with it, your family came up with it. So when you were under 7, they would say, oh, we don't like these people, and give all these reasons like we don't like those people. And I think The kid under 7 may have never even met one of these people. Doesn't have any idea about who these people are, but has now a program. If I ever meet one of these people, I know I don't like them.
Right.
And I go, so the kid has already learned not to like somebody he doesn't even know because he downloaded it. Okay, so there are behaviors in the subconscious that are very positive, and yet psychologists will tell us that 70% or so of the programs that we got before 7 are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting. Okay? They're programs that, like, if you just go back and hear what kids under 7 hear, like when parents are mad at them. Well, you don't deserve that. Who do you think you are? You're not lovable. You can't do this, and you're not good at that. Parents don't recognize that a child under 7 is not consciously understanding, because consciously means I have to understand what do you mean. And so if the child's throwing a tantrum and the parents yells at the kid to stop it, you don't deserve that. The parent is trying to say that because at this moment you're being a brat and it's annoying the hell out of me. Stop it. I'm not giving you that toy.
Right.
I say, and what did the child under 7 hear with that same thing? You do not deserve this. And that's a recording because it's just being recorded. So the child doesn't understand why the parent said it. The child just got, I do not deserve. I say, what is the consequence of this programming? It's about 70% negative and limiting and all that stuff. And one of the biggest issues, because I work with belief change, one of the biggest issues is between 80 to 90% of the people will not test positive for the belief, I love myself.
Oh.
And the reason is because in their own programming is they can give you all the critical reasons. I'm not deserving, I am not lovable, I am not worthy, I'm not good at this. Why? Those are the recordings. That's all the child got in the first 7 years was recordings. So if they reflect who am I, the only feedback of who they are is what other people said about them.
Right.
And so when I say, well, who is Bruce? And then I go back and, oh yeah, my dad said that, and my mom has said that, and that. And then I realize I am now critical of myself because every one of those things was a criticism of who I was, not a positive, like you're the most wonderful, loving, healthy child and you can do anything and all that. I said, kids don't really get that program. And I say, well, then this is an issue, and I think it's one of the biggest issues of people on this planet.
Right.
Is if you don't love yourself, then recognize this. Logically, you cannot be loved by anybody else either. Because if somebody on the outside says, I love you, you hear that. And then your mind reflects on what they just said, and then your mind says, well, they have no quality control, do they? Because I know I'm not lovable, so they have no understanding. And the subconscious will reject that love because it will not accept it as truth, because in their truth, they're not lovable.
Right.
And this is why you want to see why 50% in one way of marriages end up is because of the programming that we got before age 7, which undermine all kinds of relationships, including our own relationship with ourselves.
Right.
So we're back to mind, and I say, and the difference is at age 7 you get in a conscious mind. I say, what's unique about it? The subconscious was habit, downloaded behavior. Conscious is creative. And I say, well, what's creative? So Magda, what do you want out of your life? What is it you want? And as you sit here and you have this imagination of what I want, that's creative.
Visionary is the name of my brand. It's all about visualizing the world that we want. That's the conversation.
So visionary does not come from habit. Visionary comes from creativity. Visionary is conscious mind, okay? And so I say, cool. Conscious mind, if I engage behaviors, visionary behaviors of what I want, then my behavior should lead me to experience or receiving what I want, okay? And therefore I say, well, good, when I'm operating from my conscious mind, then I'm in the creative control of my life. Now, that whole long discussion comes back to when you say we operate 95% from our subconscious mind. So let me give the reason.
Yeah.
The conscious mind can be in control all the time, but there's a unique aspect of the conscious mind that's very critical, and that is it can think. I said, well, where does thinking occur? I say it occurs on the inside. So if I ask you, I say, what are you doing next Wednesday at 2 o'clock? Unless you have a Rolodex here, the answer is not outside, the answer is inside your head. So my conscious mind, being asked a question, will go inside my head and say, what am I doing at that time? Where am I? What's going on? I go, oh, you're thinking. I say, but where's your attention? It's inside. It's focused on the inside. Looking for what? An answer. And I said, well, if my mind is now focused in on the inside, then who's running the program on the outside? In other words, if I'm walking down the street and I'm thinking, and my consciousness is, by definition, not paying attention to what's going on the outside, then how can I keep walking without walking into the wall or falling off the curb? Or how can I walk safely down the street while I'm thinking? And the answer is, oh, and here's it. The subconscious is autopilot. So if the conscious mind is thinking, then whatever you're doing, if it's something that you've done in your life and you have habits of, talking to somebody is a habit, doing your job is a habit, walking, if you've driven the car for a while, that's a habit. I say, then anything that can be done by habit will be automatically taken over by the subconscious. So when you're thinking, and here comes the issue, 95% of the day has been the established amount of thinking that a human does. Then it says, well, then 95% of the day your conscious mind's engaged inside, not paying attention to what's going on the outside. And then all outside activities, job, walking, driving, I don't care what it is, if it's something you've done over and over again, is now run by autopilot. So your subconscious takes over 95% of the day. And I go, uh-oh, why? Well, if 70% of the programs in the subconscious are negative and disempowering self-sabotaging, that means 95% of the day you are programming or playing programs of self-sabotage. You're not creating wishes and desires, that's conscious mind. You are just playing programs. And since they're programs of limitation, then your behavior is 95% of the day controlled by limitations.
Autopilot.
Yeah. And then you might say, yeah, but I would see if I was sabotaging myself. I say, no. And the reason why? Consciousness is engaged inside. So whatever is being played at that moment is not in your consciousness. So 95% of your behavior is not even observed by you. And if it's coming from the subconscious, then 70% of that is limiting and self-sabotaging.
So how do we shift it? Is it creating new habits?
Yeah, that's how you can create new habits. A-B, let's give A-B. I said, if you stay in the conscious mind, then your behavior is controlled by wishes and desires. And I say, well, that's called mindfulness. I go, yeah, mindfulness is really cool. I can talk about it and say, yeah, let's do mindfulness. Let's be mindful right now and keep my conscious mind right here. And I go, yeah, that's easy to say, but in the world that we live in with so many things being bombarded us, what did I do? What am I doing today? What am I doing next week? What happened last month? What's on my schedule? All these thoughts are, oh wait, if that happens, then this happens. And you're thinking and thinking. So I say, mindfulness is easy to say and impractical for most people to acquire. Why? Because it means you have to stop thinking. Okay, and then if you stop thinking, that means then your consciousness has its hands on the wheels, and then your wishes and desires, you can drive there and get to where you want to go. And so since 95% of your day is you're engaged in thought, then unfortunately, mindfulness is not a character of our life. And we're the victim of these subconscious programs that we don't observe. And so I say, yeah, that becomes an issue. And just so the connectivity of this is very helpful, is that so many people have seen the movie The Matrix. And The Matrix starts out, we've all been programmed. And if you take a blue pill, you wake up and you're back in the program and life is just the way it is every day. But if you take the red pill, you get out of the program. And people look at this movie and say, oh, it's a science fiction movie. And I go, absolutely not. I already talked about the fact everybody's been programmed. You can't engage consciousns if you don't have a program.
But not necessarily intentionally and maliciously. Just
well, now you're bringing in a very critical part. Where did you get your program from? If you get it from some person who's living in health and harmony and balance and knows how to keep their life floating and keep it without getting caught in all this other stuff. You were a child in that family, congratulations, because your programming you got in your first 7 years is just recording that same program, so you will have the same as your family. But the percentage of people that can honestly say that's where I started is a very small percent. So most of us do not have that opportunity, and most of us have negative programming. And then I say, well, geez, that red pill would be great. And I go, most of, perhaps all the listeners to this have actually taken the red pill at one time in their life and had a completely different life experience. And I say, when was that? I say, science has recognized when we have fallen in love, when you fell in love with someone one day and it was just head over heels, oh my God, I'm so in love. I want people to reflect back, and I say, your life could suck every day, and then you meet this person. And the next day is, oh my God, I'm in love. And all of a sudden I say, what happened then? I say, my life got so much better. Everything was more fun. Everything was brighter. I was healthier. Life was heaven on earth. I go, well, wait, yesterday and your whole life up to that moment was crap. And then today it's all this beautiful. And I can now tell you why, because science has recognized that falling in love is one of the experiences of life that is the equivalent of taking a red pill.
Wow.
You've been looking for this person your whole life. You find them. This is not the time to think. This is time to be here now. Keep your conscience like, oh my God, look where I am. Look at that. Oh, I'm here. So every action in that period called the honeymoon is an action not necessarily coming from subconscious program, but it's coming from what is your wish and desire. And I say, well, what happens when two people fall in love, are not playing programs, and are expressing wishes and desires? That's what they manifested. Heaven on earth. It was hell, now it's heaven. I go, what was the difference? You're not playing the program. And I go, oh, cool. And I say, but the honeymoons don't last. I go, yeah, and the reason is simple. For a period of time, you can stay mindful and keep your mind in the present because you're so enjoying the experience. But inevitably, life cuts back in again. You have jobs, requirements, chores, responsibilities, and at some point, those start coming back into your mind. And I say, now what would be the consequence of that? And I go, wow, this is what people have to listen to. You have heaven on earth because you stopped playing the program. So you and your partner only know each other from who you are as conscious entities. Who are you in the conscious mind? Oh, I'm a wonderful guy, and I love life, and I love joy, happiness, sweetness. Let's do it together, and boom, we're in the honeymoon phase. Why? Because we're creating now from that joy and love and laughter and all that stuff. And I say, what's interesting? You didn't play any of those negative programs that were in your subconscious in this relationship. So your partner has a knowledge of who you are, but only a knowledge of who you are when you're in your conscious mind, the wonderful wishing desire mind of who you want to be just as wonderful as they are. So both people trying to be as wonderful to each other as possible in their conscious mind manifest that wonderfulness honeymoon. And then I say, well, the honeymoon's going along real fine, and neither of the two have played any of the negative programs that are lodged in the subconscious. But at some point, inevitably, thinking cuts back in.
Right.
And so, Magda, you and I are in a couple. We're having this great honeymoon experience, and it's all joy and love. And all of a sudden, I'm over here in my head thinking, oh God, I gotta take the car and take it to the shop. I gotta get the next job. And so I'm thinking. And so at this moment I'm thinking, then all my functions are now autopilot. And you come up and ask me this really simple, loving question. And I turn around and go, blah, blah, blah. And you look at me like, where did that come from? Who are you? What's this behavior? And so, truth, I was thinking at that one moment. And so therefore, when you asked me the question, the response did not come from my conscious who I am. It came from my program. Maybe that's how my father treated my mother. So all of a sudden I play my father's behavior. Well, we have a couple of issues here. Number one, you just saw a behavior that was never part of our relationship before, and it just showed up. And you're thinking, what happened to that lovable guy I was just with? Where's this? And then you have to realize, geez, well, I guess sometimes he has that little nasty side to him. And then you have to look at that moment and go, yeah, but we have this great honeymoon otherwise, and this one nasty thing shows up every now and then. So you go, oh, it's crap, but okay, I'll compromise. Okay, he's like that sometimes. Okay, it's crap, but it's okay. But that was only the first time in the first belief. Okay? The next time I might come out with another belief that you've never seen before. And go, oh, God, that's not really that good. And every time a belief comes up, you have a choice. You're in a relationship, and your choice is, do I want to continue with this as part of this relationship or not? And the point is, there might becomes a compromise that you're not willing to make. A behavior that you're not going to accept at all. And all of a sudden it's like, well, screw this relationship. I'm out of here. I'm not doing that, okay? And here's what the point is. You saw my behavior from the subconscious. Then you confront me and you say, Bruce, what kind of behavior is that? Where did that come from? And I look at you and going thinking, what the heck are you talking about? And the reason, why am I so lost? And the answer was, I wasn't conscious when I made that statement. So when it came out, I'm the guy that didn't even hear what it was. I didn't even see myself doing it. You saw me. And I go, now defending myself because my partner now is accusing me of not being me, because me in the conscious mind is not the program that just played. Now I'm going to be very defensive. I don't know what you're talking about. And all of a sudden, that little thing can turn into an argument.
Right.
And all of a sudden, that heaven on earth starts to be a little less bright at each time. And every time I come up with another one of these programs, it gets less bright, to the point that the honeymoon can disappear, and then it's just like regular life. We still like each other, we get along, and we still love, quote unquote, love each other. But it's not the honeymoon. That whole thing is gone. The joy and the bliss and heaven on earth, now it's like more regular life, okay? And if too many of those come out, then even that is broken down, and then a couple splits up and goes, wow, how did something that was so beautiful end so tragically? And the idea is, since neither partner in a conventional world understands that the beautiful part was because you didn't play the programs, and the ugly part was because your consciousness started to shift into thinking, and then the programs came out. If the partners don't understand this, then all they experience is the event, and the event carries on a life of its own, and then that becomes something you lodge. That was really bad behavior. I hate it when he does that, and that's a memory for you, and all this stuff. And interesting points, just to back up on it, is if I played any of these kinds of behaviors on our first date, we probably wouldn't have a second date. Right. But you never saw it until later in the game.
It takes time for the subconscious programming to show up.
Because the first part,
when you're in love,
because we stay mindful.
Right. And so, do you think yoga is a way to help reprogram the subconscious?
Absolutely, because yoga is an ability to take control of your mind. Take conscious control of your mind. And the more you exercise conscious control, you are creating a new habit. If I, only did it once, I say, okay, I controlled my mind, that was pretty neat, and then I let it go. Well, the original habit's still in there. It's not going to change just because I once recognized it. But if I recognize it and I repeat it again and again, well, that's how I create a new habit, by repetition. So when I do a yoga practice and I repeat it again and again and again, I'm repeating a process of control that by repetition will become a habit and can cancel some bad habits that wouldn't be supported by a yoga practice. Okay?
Right.
So yoga is a practice. Practice means a repetition. Repetition means habituation. So yoga gives an opportunity to give mind control. And the fact is, if you start to recognize that and see how it addresses some characters in your life, Well, then with consciousness, I can use the yoga practice to address these other characters in my life and then have power and control over them. Okay? So now we're down to a little interesting aspect. It says, I've been programmed, and if I get control of my mind, I can eliminate or at least stop any program by consciousness, by the power of emphasizing the strength of consciousness and its power over subconscious. I need to address this issue right now, and here's the issue I need to address, and that is, what are the programs? Because they're invisible to you, how do you know what the heck the programs are?
Right, invisible forces.
Well,
right?
Well, they're invisible forces, but they have
Influencing our lives.
consequences.
Yeah, they're influencing our lives.
Okay, so the idea is this. I cannot tell you what my programs are, mainly because if I say, what did I learn when I was 1 year old? And it's like, what? I have no memory of what the heck happened when I was 1 year old, okay? So I go, oh, so you weren't conscious of the programming when it was occurring, so you have basically no idea of what the program is. And then people say, well, okay, I'll go to a psychologist or psychiatrist and I'll review my life and try to understand the program. And go, God, that is the worst thing in one way. Only because, what are you going to do? Relive all the experiences. And I go, well, that didn't cancel them. That just reignited the experiences again.
Right,
so,
because it's vibration, right? So you take yourself back into that
You take
vibration.
it back and there it is like, oh my God. And that's why tissue boxes are left on the table next to the couch, because you're going to cry sure as hell when you go, oh no, I remember that. That was really bad. And I go, okay. I say, let's make it simple. And I love the simplicity. And here's the simplicity. 95% of your life is the program. So your life is a printout of your program. So you don't have to go back a minute in your life. You have to stop at this 1 minute and just say, what are the wonderful things that come into my life? And I'll tell you, all those wonderful things that come in your life, how do they get there? You have programs that allow those to be in your life. But here's the one. What are the things in my life that I want, but I have to work hard over and struggle and put effort into and sweat over to make this? I want this in my life. I say, why are you working so hard? And the answer is, that thing that you're trying to get and you're working hard to get it is not supported by the program in your subconscious. So your efforts of working hard to make it real are efforts to override your own program. And if you don't even know you had the program, and then you just notice I'm making the effort to make it real and it's not happening, the conventional person will go, oh, the universe is not providing this to me because I'm working real hard and I'm still not getting it. So I'm a victim of the universe. I go, well, that's your problem, because you haven't understood that 95% of your behavior is the invisible behavior coming from the subconscious. It's not the universe that's keeping you from acquiring that goal. It's your programs in your subconscious are playing when you don't even know it's playing. So if you don't even know you're contributing to your own problem, because your conscious mind says, no, why would I contribute to that? I wanted this good stuff. I go, yeah, but you're not operating from that conscious mind. And when the programs are playing, you're not seeing it. So you rightfully sit there and go, I'm a victim. I'm a victim of the universe. I'm a victim of nature. It wasn't in my cards to be successful because I sure as hell am trying and it's not coming. So therefore the universe is not offering it. And I go, reset, review. When you are struggling over something, it's because your own programming doesn't support the presence of that in your life. And your struggle is not with the universe, your struggle is with your subconscious mind.
Okay. And so overriding that 95% subconscious is done by taking the red pill in the form of a yoga practice.
Yep.
Healthy eating choices.
No.
Right?
No. No.
Okay, tell us what's in the red pill. What are the ingredients of the red pill, Bruce?
The red pill is anything that keeps you from defaulting into the subconscious.
Such as?
Love.
Love is the answer again.
But it is. But and let's clear this up. Love is, when we say that in the context I'm saying, I bring it up because that's most average person's experience of the red pill is that honeymoon that I talk about. But guess what? You can have a love for your dog. You can have love for your cat. You can have love to go in the garden and plant and be in the garden, hands in the dirt and being in the sun and feeling, oh, how healthy and loving and wonderful you're out here in nature. That's love. So in that moment of gardening and all that, you're really in your conscious mind enjoying that experience, okay? So anything that you so love to do
raises your vibration.
But it keeps your conscious focused on what you're doing rather than thinking about what you're doing. So anything that keeps your consciousness up in the front is red pill. And it doesn't have to be love with another person, it's just love with a job. I mean, if you get so excited about your job and the hours disappear, you don't even know where the time went. It says, yeah, you've been so engaged that your conscious mind has been so upfront and focused that time disappears. Why? Because you were living at the moment, and the moment is now. Now is now. There's no time to now. And so recognize that. Why food is not a red pill. Food is a support for your program. And maybe during that dinner, there is a moment where, oh, I'm enjoying my food. I'm looking at this plate and I'm doing that. But that's just the process of eating the food.
But food has a vibration, right? So if we eat a more high vibration versus a low vibration food, doesn't that contribute?
No, that's an unfortunate part. Because it doesn't clear up the vision of your mind. If I have a vision that I'm not a healthy person because of whatever beliefs and some doctor said you got this disease and you and your mind is now, I got this disease, and then you eat this healthy food. The chemistry that comes out of the brain is not the chemistry from the food you just ate. The chemistry is from the picture in the brain.
So if someone gets diagnosed with cancer and is told to go on a plant-based, green juice diet, etc., right? It's their belief that the food is going to heal them rather than the food actually healing them?
Yeah.
It's all about the belief.
It's all about the belief. And that's the whole thing. Well, how much is this belief? And it's like, let's get real. It's 100%. Everything is the belief. And you think, oh, Bruce is so weird. And, it's like trying to push this. And I go, look, I could say that from the biological sense, but I'll just take a step back and say the foundational understanding of quantum physics is that our consciousness is creating the world and our experience in the world. And that's at the bottom line. Physics is the bottom line of everything. And quantum physics is the mechanism that consciousness is the creative element of everything. So consciousness about your health or consciousness about your food. This is very important. But if I have, for that moment, I'm eating the food and I go, yeah, well, this is consciously going to help me. This is really nice because that's a conscious impact. But right after you eat dinner and you think about, oh God, I've got this cancer gene and all this stuff, I say, well, that's fine. Now you just canceled the consciousness because now this is different coming out. And then you say, well, what about the food I eat? And I'm going to tell you, that's based on your consciousness. If you don't have high consciousness, then supplement it with all the best possible foods you can eat. And you would continue to do that as consciousness got higher and higher. But then I could also tell you, at the full end of consciousness, it doesn't make a difference what the hell you eat, because consciousness overrides the whole thing. And just to give an example of how crazy that concept is, okay? In the South in the U.S., we have fundamentalists that get into religious ecstasy and start speaking tongues. And some of them are called snake handlers. And they work with poisonous snakes. And even if they get bitten by the poisonous snake, what are they doing? Why the hell would you want to handle rattlesnakes? And they do it as what they call testifying. That's part of their spiritual tradition. Testify. I said, what is testify? Do something that no normal human person would ever do out of their fear, and do it because you have total belief that God will protect you. Okay? That belief in testifying is, look, I'm playing with rattlesnakes, folks. God's protecting me here. And interestingly, it was about a couple of months ago, one of those snake handlers actually died from the snake, but most of them don't. And you go, okay, but the one I want to bring up about food is, some of these guys, and I have a video of it, testify that God protects them by drinking strychnine poison in toxic doses. And in that religious state of religious ecstasy and testifying, they can drink this absolute poison and not get sick from it. And I go, wait a minute. You can drink strychnine poison and not get sick? And the answer is, yeah, but you better damn well have your consciousness at that high level that's so unshakable that God protects you. It's not that a physical God or an energetic God. It's their belief in the God that is protecting them.
That's the power of the mind.
And the power of the mind says, yeah, I can drink strychnine poison and look at me, I'm not sick or dead from the poison. Anybody else, you don't have that in your mind, you drink the same solution, you're going to be dead. And I say, then you have to stop and own a simple reality just from that observation. Not that they're the only ones that do weird stuff like that, but the observation is this: a human can drink strychnine poison and not have any adverse effects. Well, hell, if you can ingest strychnine poison, you could ingest sugar. You know, you're going to ingest any of those things, but you damn well, like those people, have to have your consciousness at peak performance in that regard. There's no doubt, there's not even any hint of a doubt in their mind that God's going to protect them. Okay?
You're really expanding my my personal definition of conscious eating right now, which is something that I put a lot of energy into.
Well,
so
it's good because we're not at that level. I'm not at that level. I know they can do it, but I sure as hell, even though I know how it works and I know they have that belief, I'm not going to drink the strychnine poison. I don't trust my consciousness at that level. So if I don't trust my consciousness at that level, then I sure as want to know, well, I don't want to violate myself in the sense of eating poisonous, toxic, industrial farmed, sprayed, garbage, non-organic food. Why? Because if my consciousness is not full, I could take in the negative stuff to make a picture that might be negative in my mind. What I take into my digestive system or what I take into my body is elements that I need to create the image that I hold of my body. If I have a negative image of my body and I eat totally, you know, raw, vegan, organic, whatever, and I have a negative image of my body, it's like, so what? The system is not going to necessarily pull that in. That's not useful for making what? The negative image.
But these things do affect the inner environment, right? As we're talking so much about the environment. I mean, there's a physical environment as well
but you
as a
still don't
mental
get the,
environment,
let me give you again, okay? If you eat something, it's not in your body. That's number one. It's not in your body. I ate it. I ate it 2 hours ago. It's still not in your body. I say, why not? Then I say, do a dissection. Cut your esophagus from your mouth and go to your anus and cut at the other end. Take that long tube called the digestive tract, stretch it out. And if you shine a light at one end, you'll see the light at the other end. It's a pipe, okay? What it means is it's open to the outside at both ends. There's no open to the inside. It's a pipe with you run a water down the pipe. It doesn't leak out the wall of the pipe. It goes from one end, comes out the other end. I say, but the digestive system has the ability to open pores up and select what it wants from what's going down the pipe. And that's where I said, what are you trying to create in your consciousness? Okay? And if you were programmed that you were an unhealthy person and you know you're going to be affected by all these negative thoughts, but then what's going to be pulled across the wall of the pipe is going to facilitate the expression of an unhealthy program and an unhealthy manifestation. And if you have that program and yet you eat only the best of food, it doesn't mean that, just because I put the best of the food in, my image has changed. My image is still the same image.
So the people walking around with the explosion, I mean, in recent years with autoimmune, right? So this is, what do you say to these people? I mean, what's the solution?
Autoimmune, let's define autoimmune, which is more like a Latin term. Autoimmune means self-destruction.
Right.
Okay, it means what? You have an image of self-destruction and the immune system is cooperating to manifest your image.
So if somebody has this subconscious program that's doing this, How do we advise them to
change the
heal
program?
themselves?
You have to change the program, because I said,
and we do this, but we do this by spending more time in our happy place, essentially.
yes, and then that's habituation. So
Creating the habit of spending
creating
more time
the
in our happy
habit
place.
of repeating and repeating and repeating. Just because I took it in doesn't mean
good feeling
the good
behaviors.
stuff. Yeah, that you have to repeat. I am seeking health. I am seeking health.
How about I am healthy?
Well, that's what the program ultimately is.
So affirmations?
Yes, absolutely. And as you just said and corrected me, which is wonderful, the affirmation has to be in the present tense as if it's actually happening right now. And the one I said, and I want to negate, cross out what I just said, because if I put in the program, I am seeking health, and that becomes a program. Let's say we're making a recording today, and I come back next year and I say, well, how's my life going? And I say, let's hear the program. I am seeking health. Still looking.
Right.
And that was the point. And that's why I am healthy, even in the face of I have been terminal cancer diagnosed. I am healthy has to be the mantra that is going in.
So creating new mantras,
Yeah, because then your system, and here's the beautiful part.
That's
I say, what's the function of the brain and the mind? Is to take your program and make it real.
Right.
And if I have a negative program, its function is to make it real. And therefore, what if I'm sick, but I now program I am healthy? Then the mind looks at it and goes, wait, no, I'm not healthy. And it says I am healthy, so what is the mind's job? Correct the imbalance so that I am healthy. Yeah, so please,
positive current tense affirmations.
Present tense.
Yeah, present
tense. Positive.
Positive affirmations.
No negative. It's like I am not sick. No, that's a negative. That doesn't work.
Right. And where does meditation fit in with creating, these
meditation is at some level like a habituation process. What am I meditating on? And if I keep repeating the meditation, is there a part where my subconscious will learn? And the answer is yes, because outside of the first 7 years, which is hypnosis download, after age 7, I put new programs in all the time. But the only way I put a new program in after age 7 is repetition. How many times did you have to say the alphabet so you can go from A to Z without making a mistake? You repeated it and repeated it and repeated it, but once you finished, it's permanently in there. You drove a car, you learned how to drive a car. It was very conscious consuming the first time you got behind the wheel of trying to look out the windows, check the mirrors, watch the gauges, listen to the engine, pay attention to all these things. It's like for some people it's so overwhelming to get in the car, can't even drive because of conscious trying to process all that information. But I say, so you practice and you practice and practice, and now guess what? You've been driving the car, you get in the car, you don't even think of any of the details because it doesn't require thinking. It's habitually being run by the program of driving the car. Your subconscious mind will know when the ball bounced into the road that, okay, there's a possible thing here with a kid coming out and all that, without your conscious mind being so alert as to watch all that. Your subconscious will catch your attention and say, uh-oh, ball in the street, wake up, here comes something. Okay, so you want to put in a new program after age 7. Habituation is the primary natural mechanism of changing the program. And then habituation comes to the jokey thing like fake it till you make it. I'm not happy. Yeah, but I want to be happy. So how you do it? You say, I am happy. I am happy.
You smile.
I am happy. And smiling, putting it on, it's faking it. But the system is taking that program, and there's a point where you won't have to say it anymore. Your program will just, I am happy, without you even saying it. And now, guess what? 95% of the day, without you even being consciously involved, the I am happy program will play.
There we go. There it is. The red pill. Simplified. Thank you so much for your time, Bruce. I really appreciate it. We're going to have to split this one into 2 episodes because we went pretty long, and I'm really grateful for your time and all your insight and your expertise, and hanging out here with you
at the Ganga.
We have a view of the Ganga right now here in Rishikesh at the International Yoga Festival, full of so much of these high vibrations, and downloading positive new programs into all the people here. Right? It's beautiful to witness.
That's what it's all about, and it's an exercise. People came here to do an exercise to change their life, and it says, don't sit in your easy chair and think, if I just think it's going to be better, it'll be better. If you just say that, tomorrow's going to be the same as today. And it's going to stay that way until you change this program.
You got to put it into practice.
You've got to put it into practice, habituate it, and make it work. And there's some other ways that are faster, but people can go on my website, brucelipton.com.
Perfect.
And under the file, or whatever you call it, resources, there are these new modalities called energy psychology, which can facilitate rapid changes in programming that can occur within 5 to 10 minutes.
Amazing. So you have resources on your
Absolutely,
website.
and I highly suggest that people look at that, because so much of us are so busy in our day-to-day world that the habituation is a time element. Even the ability to undergo self-hypnosis, which is just put earphones on your head when you go to bed, because as you go to sleep, you have to go from awake consciousness to delta sleep consciousness, which means you pass through theta. So as soon as you are just going to sleep unconscious, theta is brain function and theta is hypnosis. So if you have a program playing with the belief that you want to make your own, and you put the earphones on at night, your conscious mind is asleep, but the subconscious is in record.
Oh, that's valuable.
So it is, and they used to call them subliminal tapes.
Right.
Well, that is putting a program in while your mind is in theta, which is the immediate phase just after your conscious mind checks out and before you go into deep sleep.
So that's perfect. So what's the source of those? Can you make your own? Can you
can
record
make your
yourself
own.
saying like
You
positive
can make your
affirmations?
own.
And
Absolutely.
things
Talk
like
to
that?
yourself and give yourself the story of your life that you want.
That's such a cool tool. I love that.
Well, that people made a lot of money selling subliminal tapes, where they just took topics that most people had to or wanted or desire to change, and then market them as these individual tapes. Hey, but talking to yourself.
How cool about making your own, right?
Making
Be
your own
own
tape.
healer,
Yeah,
right?
you know what was fun is I did the first one was Louise Hay's, one of her tapes. And what's interesting is that most of these tapes start off with a relaxation exercise, where it says, okay, feel your arms and your legs, and relax your throat and your jaw, and it's a whole process of relaxation. And then when the relaxation exercise is done, when you're fully in the relaxed state, then the programming is, like you're a wonderful, healthy, loving person, whatever the heck the damn tape is.
Right.
And it was funny because I remember the first time I put it on, put the earphones on, and listened to tape, and I got through the exercise, and then I heard the message part of it. And it was funny because the second time I put it on and almost got through the whole relaxation part and fell asleep just before the message came on. And the third time I fell asleep before even the relaxations came near over. And what was interesting was, after that, I put the earphones on, and just about the beginning of the relaxation exercise, I'd fall asleep. So it was like, wow, I could fall asleep because my mind was already being programmed to, okay, relax to this extent. And so after the first few times, I never even heard the message.
But subconsciously you're getting
Oh,
it,
the
right?
subconscious, the conscious mind shut off. Subconscious was on record, recording everything.
I like this. So if people are going to record, I love offering this as a tool to people, and empowering people to be their own healer, right?
Yeah.
So if people are going to make their own recording, do you think it's best for them to do it in first person or third person, like I am or you are? What would be
I
more...
really couldn't answer that, because you're hearing it from the outside, and yet. And most of these tapes that have all been done for history have been from the outside. You are. And so I can't answer that question, and I think it's a very interesting question. And since we basically, our subconscious programming is really acquired from outside, maybe that outside person would be a better way of introducing it.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If we've been given it since under age 7, right, you are.
That is, you are this, you are that, and you become that.
Then you are this is maybe the best way. Yeah, that makes sense.
Beautiful. I love ending with that. That's such a great tool to pass off to people. And I know I'm going to be seeing you around here for the next few days. And
I'm sorry.
I'm so grateful. You're amazing. I'm really grateful for you and for your work and for all your time today. It's been a real joy.
Well, I want to thank you very much, but I really want to thank all those people listening to this, because every one of them by understanding what we're talking about, changes their life and becomes then the example, the model for the others that haven't even heard this stuff. Because there's a tendency for people to recognize when somebody's doing something and they're healthy and they're joy and everything, what are they doing? And if people are listening to this and become, change their life and become that, then they become the light that the other people around want to know, what are you doing that is giving you this? And then you become a teacher.
And pass it on.
And we pass it on, pay it forward.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
What a great place to end. Thank you again, Bruce.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated rainbow warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste.